It's been a momentous year in cams for me. 2015 was. So I just thought I'd talk about each of the cams I've used in 2015 and just run through the strengths and weaknesses of each one. Now, missing from this lineup is the Contour Roam 3. I started the year with the Contour Roam as my motorbike cam, and that has moved on and it has been put to thoroughly worthwhile use, amongst other things lapping round the Isle of Man TT track, so although not on race days but just on ordinary motoring days, but it's gone to a good home, I'm happy to say. So yeah, the year started with myself using the Contour Roam as a motorbike cam, and the Mobius, which I'd had for quite a few years, this little thing, as my car cam, which I'll go into a bit. Now, the Contour Roam had many plus points. It was a tube, so when it was mounted on the fairing of my motorbike, it gave very little wind resistance. The mounting point was in the middle of the tube, so there was no sort of resonance set up vibration wise, and the whole story of my quest for the perfect motorbike cam is a story of stabilizing the image because of the vibes from the bike. Just to recap, I don't want to put it on my helmet because you look like a tit, and I don't think it's safe, to be honest. I don't think it's safe to stick things on a helmet. It doesn't do much for the fabric of the actual helmet, and you can just imagine yourself going through a hedge and, you know, the camera catching a branch and jerking your head back, and, you know, before you know it, you're in traction for 6 months. So I don't fancy that at all. All I wanted was a cam mounted on the motorbike that took reasonable quality footage. Okay, the Contour had many good points. It also had a revolving lens, so that you could mount it on the frame, revolve the lens and the innards, and you got a horizontal picture. And indeed, it had a laser system for setting that up, a laser line you could project on a wall and, you know, get your footage absolutely horizontal. That wasn't so useful to me on the ZX6R because there's no centre stand. So, you know, you had to do it while you're balancing on the bike, and yeah. Well, anyway, but I got good level pictures out of it. The design of it was absolutely excellent, but the trouble with it was that the innards, the internals, the chips and everything were just out of date. It just wasn't giving me good enough footage, not the sort of footage I wanted, although it was perfectly serviceable. But as I say, that's gone. 160 quid. Would I buy another one? No, frankly. And then we get on to the little Mobius here, and I've got this is the waterproof case for it. I got a host of other accessories for it, like spare gaskets, another tray if you want to use it as a car cam and what have you, because I'm thinking of selling it, that's why I'm pointing that out. Now, this was an excellent little camera. I mean, I bought this 3 years ago, and it's been my car cam. And I used to put it, when I had an ER5, when I took up motorcycling again, I used to attach it to the mirrors of the ER5 and take motorbike footage with it that way. Now, at 3 years old, I've got no complaints at all about this, apart from the fact it was made 3 years ago, so it's out of date. So the footage and things like the exposure control on it are now, have just simply been surpassed by the newer cameras. But still perfectly functional as a car cam. And a great advantage of having it on a motorbike was it's so light, so the vibes it set up weren't that great, and also small frontal area, so not much wind resistance. Absolutely excellent little thing. The forerunner of this was actually a little keyring cam that you could put on your keys, so it just looked like a key fob. And I actually bought one of those. They were £6 on eBay. It only lasted a couple of weeks before it broke down completely, and the footage it gave was crap. But it was I don't know. I felt a bit weird using it anyway. To be quite honest, I was quite pleased when it broke and I threw it away. Yeah, but then they went on to make that, which is a much more sort of much better effort. Yeah, Mobius, absolutely excellent little thing, but a bit old now. And then I decided to upgrade the contour because I wasn't happy with the footage. So I made my biggest mistake of the year, which was to buy this, the Sony AS30V. Now this, I'm not saying it's a bad camera because it does produce good footage and it has image stabilization. But for my use it was just totally inappropriate. It's way too heavy. So it vibrated like hell on the bike. Exacerbated by the fact that the case has the mounting point right towards one end, the opposite end from the lens. So the vibes were simply magnified by that arrangement. And although it had image stabilization, it just wasn't good enough image stabilization to cope with the massive vibes set up by the system. That was the one I was most disappointed about. But it was just way too heavy. If you're going skiing or something, or going underwater, sort of vibe-free activities, then they're absolutely fine, I should think. But anything you want to do with vibes that involves vibration, you've got to set it up on that case, because that's the only place where there's no screw hole on the cam itself. It has to be in that case. And as I say, the mounting point is at one end, and I can't see, whatever application you use it for, that isn't going to amplify the vibes for whatever you're using it for. So I think that's really poor design. Another thing I hated about it was the software that came with it. It sort of attempts to draw you into, Sony world, where you can upload your movies and what have you to Sony's proprietary sharing system. Yeah, but you're sharing it, with two other people who are using it worldwide. I mean, it's hopeless, and the software itself was well out of date, poorly designed, and the GPS in it didn't even overlay your track on a map. It just gave you a squiggle rather than overlaying it on a map, which I was dubious about GPS anyway. Wi-Fi was terrible on it as well. I didn't like that camera at all. But again, if you're using it for other applications, I'm sure it'd be fine. But for me, it was totally inappropriate, and I regret buying it, really. That's for sale as well. Right, and then we come to things started getting better. Right, when I started buying, I bought a couple of Dazznes. Now, here's the Dazzne P2. As you can see, it's the same format as a GoPro. This is just the ordinary P2 that I use as a car cam, i.e. upside down. So I've got it in this frame mount, and it attaches to a sucker on my windscreen, and it works very, very well as a car cam. As a motorbike cam, it's a bit limited because there's no image stabilization on it. So I was getting a lot of vibes, but I was happier with that than I was with anything else that had gone before over the year, and it gives absolutely excellent footage, real good quality images that I'm very, very happy with, up to 1080p. And that is going to be my car cam for the next few years. It's going to take the place of the Mobius, because the Mobius was my car cam for about 3 years. Yeah, excellent little thing. But finally we got to the last one I bought last year, and this is Nirvana. This is the Dazzne P2 Plus HD, right, which has image stabilization, and it works very, very well on the motorbike. absolutely excellently. The image stabilization works great. The quality of the video is fine. The video goes up to 2K. So you've got really nice big files, really good clear picture. The image stabilization is fantastic. And I'm going to be using this certainly for the next year. I keep it in this waterproof case basically to protect the lens. But this bit is actually, I think it's glass. It might be plastic, I don't know. But it's very, very clear. It doesn't distort it at all. And that was a great find. You can see footage I've taken with this in my feed. I got it just before Christmas, so there isn't much, but that's it. I found it at last. Going through all those cams, that is the one I'm happy with, because I get good footage. And that's it. And that was about 70 quid. The Contour and the Sony both cost 160 quid, which, as far as I'm concerned, neither is worth it, despite the Contour's extremely well thought out case. The Mobius, I think you can still get these, so they're about sort of 50-60 quid new. Yeah, so that was it. That was all the strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to be experimenting with many more car cams this year because I've got two that I'm very, very happy with. The Dazzne P2 in the car and the Dazzne P2 Plus on the bike. So that is probably the end for a while of my series of tests on cams attached to my car and motorbike. Well, there we go. I just thought I'd run through the lot. And thanks for watching. I'll see you later.